Hey, beloved, I wonder if you're anything like me. You plan for the new year ahead and you have great intentions to crush all of your goals, or your New Year's resolutions are just that good that you couldn't even imagine giving up on them. But then 3 weeks later, you find yourself back where you started. I've done this before, and I think I still have a goal or two from 20 years ago that I'm still trying to achieve. Last year, I did something different though. Instead of doing 15 goals, I chose one word to guide my year, and it completely changed my mindset, my faith, and even my daily habits. From a faith based perspective, choosing a focus word for the year is essentially a practice of seeking guidance from God through prayer. It's allowing this single word to act as a guiding principle throughout the year, and doing so helps you to focus your goals and your plans and even your whole life upon the direction that God is guiding you. Unlike resolutions, a focus word is a simple and clear word. It's like a lens that helps you to see your priorities in the way that God sees them, and to help you align your priorities with what God is doing in your life, and also to help you stay on track throughout the year. And it's the perfect way to align your actions and your faith with what God is already doing in your life. Proverbs 16:9 says, "In their hearts humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps." A focus word allows you to surrender your plans to God and let Him guide your steps with intention. So, the first thing I want you to do is spend some time in prayer with God about what that word may be. If you watched part one of our series where we dove into our star moments and rough patches of the previous year and planned for this new year using the GROW acronym, then I want you to use that foundation to choose your word as well. If you haven't seen this video, I'll link it below in the description so you can go back to it and refer to your own reflection moment. Whether you have or haven't done the reflection yet, check out these questions as a simple guide to help you, maybe guide you even to this new word that you could use as a theme for the next year. What came up in your reflection from the past year? What were your star moments and rough patches, your highlights and your hard moments in life? In what ways has God at work in your life? And how did you grow in the past year? Using these questions in your year end reflection as a guide will help you to see where God was at work in your life and align your goals and the plans that you've already worked through and prayerfully handed over to God with that focus word, so that when you get off track in this next year, your focus word will remind you to get back on track and will give you a little bit more freedom to not have to reach all of your goals perfectly, but to continue to strive for them one step at a time. A few years ago, I went through an extremely hard season in my life, one that nearly broke me to the core. I was at rock bottom and I needed hope. That year, I just decided that I didn't have enough strength to do some detailed goal planning session like I normally would do. So instead, I wrote down 3 simple goals I wanted to achieve and a focus word to guide my year. And I prayed about that word, and I prayed over and over and over. And something weird continued to be brought up in my spirit as I prayed. It was the letters R E. Re is not really a word, but yes, continually as I prayed, R-E came up in my spirit. I thought God had misspoke, so I asked again and again and again, and I continued to get the letters R-E. What was I supposed to do with R-E? I mean, I don't know even what that word means. But as I continued to pray, I realized that God wanted me to re-establish who I was, who my identity was in Him, and how I was to show up in life. It was a refining and shaping season in my life, and He wanted me not only to put my identity in Him and my hope in Him, not in the things around me, the people, the structures, the organizations, or the leadership. Instead, He wanted me to ground my identity and my relationship in Him alone as a guide for my life. Re stood for more than just 2 letters. It stood for release, reset, and recommit. Release what was painful, what had broken me, and what I had left unforgiven and in the past. Reset my focus and gaze upon Him and His plans. Reset my life on a new path and a new trajectory, one that was more aligned with who I truly was meant to be. And rest. Rest from the exhaustion, the mental trauma, the pain, and the betrayal and the hurt that the past had caused. Rest in God's arms and allow Him to heal my mind, my body, and my soul. And recommit. Recommit to the plan and purpose He had in my life, and recommit to who I truly was in Him, and not to give up in that. Even though I had been knocked down, it was time to rise up again in strength. I share that story because sometimes the word initially doesn't make sense in the moment when you're praying about it. But if you would stay in prayer with God, He will reveal a word that is perfectly aligned with your year. You may not know exactly why that word is needed right now, but eventually you will, and you will see Him use it and align it throughout your life in that next year. So now let's turn our attention to some practical steps that you can take to get your word and to guide your year with that word. The first thing that you have to do is to reflect on your past year. Take some time to think about what you learned in the last year and what God brought you through. Use the questions on the screen or check out the link in the description for part 1 where you can do a deeper dive into this reflection. You can also pause this video to do reflection now or simply screenshot these questions if you want to come back to it later. What challenges did you face? What victories did you experience? How did God show up in your life? What do I want to leave behind in this year? What do I want to carry forward into this next year? Maybe you face burnout and you need a word like rest or balance, or perhaps you saw God opening new doors and this year could be a year of courage and facing a new opportunity ahead, or focus to keep going with the goals you have set. Step 2 is pray and seek God's guidance. James 1:5 says, if any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God who gives generously to all without finding fault. Ask God to reveal the word He wants you to shape your year. This is the best way to align your plans with God, even if you don't get a word right away. Keep praying, it will come. You can pray something like, Lord, what area of my life do you want to grow in me this year? What word will draw me closer to you and help me live out my purpose? Step 3, consider your own goals and aspirations. Think about where you want to grow. What did you notice in your time of reflection on last year that could give you clues to what area you need to develop? Do you want to strengthen your faith, improve your relationships, step into new opportunities? Your word should reflect a kind of person you want to become. Some examples are faith, grace, discipline, growth, love, joy, bloom. Step 4, let your word resonate with you. Your word should be something that resonates with who you are and where you're going in life. It shouldn't be so off base that it doesn't connect one bit with the direction you're going in life. Once you have a few ideas, sit down with them and continue to pray about them. Does one word keep popping up and coming back to your mind? Does one word spark a feeling of excitement, peace, or clarity? That may be a sign that that's the right word. Now let's talk about a few practical steps that can help you remember your word. Number 1, keep it visible. Write your word somewhere where you'll see it daily, on your mirror, on your phone, or in your journal. I also like to put post-it notes in my car as a reminder throughout my day. Seeing the word often reminds me to keep looking at it and keeping it at the forefront in my life. It helps me to refocus myself on the goals and remind myself of what I have planned this year so that I can align myself not only with the goals, but with what God has planned for my life as well. Number 2, incorporate the word into your life. Find ways to live it out every day with your family, your community, and on your job. Find a few Bible verses that have the word in it or speak to the word and encourage you in that word. Put those verses around your house, maybe on your mirror or somewhere in your Bible to remind you about them daily. Number 3, use your word as a filter for decisions. Let your word guide your actions, your words, and your decisions in life. If your word is courage, remind yourself to step outside your comfort zone throughout the year. If it's rest, give yourself permission to rest and schedule it. Say no to things that drain you so that you can truly rest. Number 4, review and reflect on your word regularly. We need to remember our word so that we can be refocused back to what our word, why we chose that word in the first place. How is it shaping your decisions, your mindset, and your relationship throughout your year? And how have you seen God use that word and develop you in the process throughout the year? Write this in your journal as a reminder to yourself throughout the year so that at the end of the year, you can remember what God did. Now that we know how to find your word and how to remember it and keep it in front of us throughout the year, I want to share with you a few examples of focus words that I have had in the past and how they have impacted my life. The first word is grace. I had to learn how to give myself and others grace in that season in my life. Believe. In a season where my faith was difficult and it was hard to see God, what He was doing in my life, I had to remind myself that even a small seed of faith is still faith. Joy. I remember a time in my life when joy was hard to come by. I had a lot of struggles the year before, and I used this word to remind me to develop more of a gratitude practice in my life and to seek joy in every moment, the big and small moments throughout my day. Release. In a season where I had just had a major transition in my life, I had to release all the things of the past. I had to release them and put them in God's hands so that I could walk freer, that I didn't have those burdens and I could be the best version of me from that. And flourish. I had this word one year because I had a great movement of God in my life. He got me through some big things that year, and I was believing that the next year I would flourish in all the areas of my life. And while I did experience many highs in that year, I also experienced hardships. But I was able to see through the hardships that I was even flourishing in them. In the hardships, I was flourishing, and I saw them from a new perspective so that even in those times, they could be seen as good, even though they were hard. There were things about those hardships that actually turned out to be a shaping moment that led me into the next season in my life. Your word might be one of these words, or it might be something entirely unique to your journey. Either way, trust that God will use it and grow you in the midst of this year, and He will use it to guide you throughout this year. As a reminder, choosing a focus word isn't about perfection, nor is it about accomplishing everything that you set out to do. It's more about alignment. Your word should align your heart, your mind, your body, and your soul on the things of God and continue to refocus yourself in the direction that He's guiding you in the year ahead. In the comments below, I want you to share what word are you choosing for your year. I'd love to pray over it with you, and if you're thinking about your word, let me know how I can encourage you in this process. Check out the other videos in this series where we're looking into how to reflect on the year past, set goals in the year ahead, and focus our intentions on the things of God and the plans that He has in our life to develop strong spiritual faith each and every day. Thanks for spending time with me today on Beloved Life Today. But most importantly, remember, you are loved. So let's be the beloved, let's live as the beloved, and let's radiate God's love everywhere we go. God has amazing plans for you this year, so let's embrace them one word at a time.